Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at Lowe's out in Prosper, Texas. As always, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Folds. That is the fastest and most direct way to get in touch with me. So this late afternoon, early evening excursion of a plant shopping video is done right before Thanksgiving. And actually, I hope everybody has had a great Thanksgiving. I know that I was able to have a day off and actually spend some quality time with my family. I had my sister over with my nephew and my nieces, and it was a fun time. We played some board games, but Thanksgiving is a time where I feel like we can reflect for that one day, but we actually have many days where we can reflect on how thankful we are. I know that I'm super thankful to be able to just make this plant content for all of our plant foldies. And if you are new to this channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome. My name is Richie, but as far as the community we have at Grow Folds, the plant foldies have been amazing. You guys have done such a great job just supporting me, really engaging with me, really inspiring me to continue to do daily 1-hour plant shopping videos, whether it is at a big box store, a plant show, or a local nursery. Today I am going to one of my favorite big box stores, and that is Lowe's, specifically the Prosper, Texas location. This is in close proximity to where I am based at, and you can see right over here we have some awesome amaryllis flowers. These are indoor blooms that typically come out during the holidays alongside with poinsettias, and you can see that we also have some Costa Farms plants right here for $15.98. We've got an Aglaonema red cyan. The last video I did was Plants and Planters. It's a local nursery out in Richardson, Texas, and they had some amazing Aglaonemas. If you watch my channel, you already know I am a fanatic when it comes to Aglaonemas. I buy them typically at big box stores, local nurseries, and even get them imported from overseas. I'm actually super excited to be getting another Green Spaces ID import from them. They are actually sending me tons of new Aglaonemas. I would say Indonesia actually has some of the best Aglaonemas in the world. But as far as just these common red Aglaonema, this is that red Siam Aglaonema for $15.98. Really like that as well. I am actually curious if everybody that watches my videos have actually gone out today to go Black Friday shopping. I honestly did a little bit of Black Friday shopping, and that's really for more of my plant care. I ended up buying some Weed the Wild plant products. I typically like their neem oil spray, which I use to make my leaves shiny on my plants, but also to protect them from plant pests. They had a 50% off sale, as well as the We the Wild nutrient solution. I like to use that as well. It's a really nice organic fertilizer. So that's kind of what I've done as far as the Black Friday plant shopping. So I'm curious to see if anybody else has actually done some Black Friday plant shopping. Please leave in the comments below what kind of plants you bought during Black Friday, or if you are even a Black Friday shopper. I know that I typically avoid big box stores when it comes to Black Fridays just because of the lines, and it looks like some retailers are starting to get the lines back up by doing all of their Black Friday sales the day of. So I'm just curious if anybody's done some plant shopping, but you can see right here, it is late evening when I filmed this, and I actually am excited to be able to show you some of the plants that they have here. Lowe's is really one of the best big box stores to go buy plants, because they have so many plants that are sourced out from, say, Live Trends plants. These are the more stylish looking plants. I love this Bird's Nest Sansevieria. This is only for $16.98. And what I love about Live Trends plants is they have some really stylistic planters. I really like that they're very modern, minimalistic, just absolutely elegant as well. And I just like the minimalist approach. We also have urban jungle plants that are sourced to Lowe's. This one is for $13.98. This is a Dracaena white jewel, and I love Dracaenas as well because they're so easy to care for. And you know, the running theme for a lot of my plant shopping videos, as I continue to just make these, I know that you've seen a lot of these videos, a lot of these plants from the day before, last week, last month, even as early as last year. But the thing I like to do with these plant shopping videos is really to walk around and just show you plants as if you are just hanging out with me, but more so just give you my plant commentary, my personal insights, and just anything that's related to plants, or even my day-to-day routines with my life. As you can see right here, we do have some Haworthias. I love Haworthias, and didn't even realize until I started doing plant shopping videos that these are succulent plants that can tolerate lower light conditions. Because whenever you think of a succulent or cactus, it's very synonymous to bright light or even full sun, but Haworthias are actually similar to Sansevierias in a sense that they can tolerate lower light conditions. Now, obviously, if you can give them more light, just like any plant, bright indirect light is always going to make the plant grow a little bit better, a little bit more vigorous, and just keep them a little bit healthier because they're able to photosynthesize. But there are plants that are low light tolerant, which makes these plants candidates to be easy care plants. You know, easy care plants is another topic that I want to continue to push to our plant foldy community. I love the fact that despite the diversity of plants that are really making it into the market, you know, there's a lot of these new hybrids for philodendrons, for instance, variegated plants, but let's not forget the easy care common plants that you can find at big box stores, you know, like pothos plants, Dracaena, Aglaonema, those types of plants. And I'll show you and give you a little bit more insight today about the care for some of those plants. Now you can see again, Live Trends has some awesome seasonally relevant plants and planters. Like look at this one right here, cute snowman planter with some air plants. Now, I don't really own a single air plant, but as far as I can tell, air plants are really easy to care for plants. As far as like watering them, you literally just douse them or just dunk them in water, soak them completely for like a minute or two, and then pull them out, let them dry, and that is it. At least that's the basic layman terms of how to take care of air plants. Now, if you have any more specifics about like air plant care tips, please feel free to leave in the comments your care tips or anything that's plant related. Like I said in all my videos, it's really exciting for me to really hear from you guys. I know that I'll talk your ear off literally for an entire hour about plants. I love to talk, as you can tell from all of the videos I produced this year, but I also like to hear from our plant foldy community. So I hope that you will take the time to leave comments about some of the plants you're seeing in this video today, your opinions about plants, holiday plants that you would just grow as a holiday plant, anything plant related, I would love. And then if you've made it this far into the video already but haven't hit the like button, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video. It helps a huge ton whenever you guys hit the like button. The more likes a video has, typically YouTube will push it out to more plant lovers like yourself. And I really hope that we can reach 12,000 subscribers by the end of December heading into 2025. You know, there's a lot of things to be super excited about 2025. For me, this year has been phenomenal. You know, I was talking about the things that I was really thankful for, and I'll sum it up again. And that's really my health. Every day being able to wake up and just be healthy, to have a career that's very stable, and then also just my friends and family, all of the people that are in my life, and also the plant foldy community. You guys have been amazing. To be able to meet some of you guys in person from all of the plant shows I've been able to cover, and just for all of the messages and interactions I have for the future plant foldies I have yet to meet. Those are just some of the things I've been really thankful for this year. But you know, as far as like Thanksgiving, it shouldn't be just a day where you're thankful for. Always show gratitude. I know that I am just very thankful for all of the small things that happen for me on a daily basis. Sometimes it's hard to see that, especially when things may not always go your way. But as far as me, I really am trying to choose the positive route, whether it's some of the shortcomings I may have had with some of my plants, or just some of the failures I've had with my plant collection. You know, I have gotten to the point where I started to feel a little bit of plant burnout. I started to feel overwhelmed. I started to feel a little bit stressed. You know, last year I was really battling a lot of anxiety, and you know, plants have really helped me heal, helped me cope with some of the stresses of life. But then again, it's also self-induced. So as I do these plant shopping videos, you know, I'm showing you these gorgeous live trend planters. Now, for instance, these are for $24.98, this philodendron hederaceum, for instance. The temptation to buy more plants and inundate my plant collection causes me to sometimes be a little bit more overwhelmed. Now, as far as Thanksgiving, you know, I had my sister and her family over. We played board games, we cooked, and then when they left, I was able to take some time to really do some plant chores. And I say plant chores because growing plants is not always an easy thing to do. There are a lot of things that you have to invest. A lot of it has to do with time. And as far as time, I do believe that time is the most precious thing that you can give yourself as you live, because time is very limited. It's very fleeting. It's one of those things that you have to make every half second count throughout the day. And for me, as I show you all of these plants, for instance, like this Epipremnum aureum pearls and jade, I have to really limit myself to more of these basic or easy care plants. I was really getting into collecting more of the rare variegated plants. I was really getting into, you know, collecting alocasias, calatheas, you know, the plants that have really nice foliage, but they're a little bit tougher to grow. So now I am reeling it back in and just going back into my pothos era. It's one of those things where when you go to the basics and you start to look at these easy care plants and see that there's new growth, you're able to propagate more because you're able to like actually grow the plant out. To me, that's a little bit more satisfying. To me, it's a little bit more minimalistic in the care, and you're able to actually enjoy a plant collection. I say this, and I know that some of you guys are looking at some of the plant care tips I will mention with a lot of these plants. Just feel free to watch me pick up some plants, really admire them, but know that I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on this video just giving you some more of my thoughts about plants. I've also realized that as I've done these plant shopping videos, that I've spent quite a bit of money, because the plant addiction that a lot of us may have, I mean, I already know I have a plant addiction. I feel like if I see a plant like this, for instance, this urban jungle plant, this Ficus lyrata, for instance, for $13.98, that is when you know I don't even have to look at plant pricing to know the plants, because I've been at a big box store, plant shopping, or local nurseries. The temptation to just pick up every single plant you think is beautiful is very easy, but I will give you guys a little bit of tips. It is even easier long term when you go plant shopping and you have an idea of what plant you want to buy. So for instance, you've done your research, you know some of the basic care tips. It keeps you in line with actually having a plant budget. And I do have to ask anybody watching this video for my plant foldies, or for anybody who has just clicked on this video and maybe a potential new viewer, again, welcome to the channel. I would like to know, on average, in the comment section, how much do you spend on plants on a monthly basis? I just really want to see what everybody's range is. I know that the last 3 months, I have probably spent an entire mortgage payment on all of the plants I've acquired, whether it's at a plant show, a big box store, a local nursery, or even importing plants. It all adds up. So as far as 2025, and it's really just a couple more weeks until we're into the new year, there are going to be some things that I'm going to make some adjustments with. I'm allowing myself to kind of spoil myself with some of the plants. I'm still acquiring plants, and I know my very loyal plant foldie, Kathy from Canada, I know you're waiting for me to do a houseplant tour. It is coming. It may come as a Christmas present, who knows? But again, it's all a matter of me actually getting my plants organized. So I don't know if you guys are like me, where you keep acquiring plants, you want to keep growing plants, but then your plant collection becomes super cluttered. They're all over. There's no open space for you to like just admire the plants. That's really the current state of my my plant collection, and I'm okay with being transparent, because You know, there's a lot of plant YouTubers or plant influencers or anybody who makes plant content. Some of them have really perfect plant collections. I can tell you that sometimes it's more curated for what the eye actually sees or what the viewer sees. It's like with me, whenever I do plant shopping videos, I don't really have like massive editing. All I do is literally walk into a plant shop, a big box store, a nursery, someplace, and just point and shoot. And then I just do a voiceover like this and give you guys my plant insight. So, but to go back to some of the plants that we see from other plant influencers where they just have perfect leaves, perfect growth, to me, that's not always a realistic goal. And I've told a lot of my Plantfoldy viewers that we need to not compare ourselves to other people. We shouldn't get jealous about whether somebody has acquired certain plants. We need to be satisfied with the plants we have. And a prime example would be my grandmother. If you haven't seen her plant videos, I have a couple that are mixed in with some of my big box store plant shopping videos. You will find her in the thumbnail, but she has what most people would consider as basic plants, like pothos plants, aglaonema, cordyline plants, dracaena, those types of plants. And she's really perfectly content with having those plants, multiplying the same plant and really getting that lush growth. So I just want to know everybody's opinions on that, on whether you sometimes find yourself comparing yourself to other people's plant collections. For me, I kind of stated the course. I know that a lot of times I talk about aglaonemas, and maybe some of you guys probably may not even love aglaonema, no matter how many times I talk about it. But for me, it's one of those things where I buy the plants that bring me joy. I don't try to follow trends, because when we follow trends, it's a never ending battle where you're always looking for the next hot plant. Prime example would be whenever I was going around trying to find the Dock Block Anthurium Michelle by Proven Winners that was released at Home Depot. I mean, luckily I was able to acquire it, but really it was more so for me to just kind of feed the fad of, everybody searching for it, everybody posting that content for people to see whether they can find a Dock Block Anthurium Michelle. Now, as far as my Dock Block Anthurium Michelle, I do want to gift it to a friend, but before I do that, I'm actually going to put it in semi-hydro substrate called Lechuza Pond. It just makes it easier. But let me go back to the plants that are here at this Lowe's location. As you can see, Urban Jungle, for instance, $13.98. We've got another Sansevieria here. These are bird's nest Sansevierias. Now, as far as bird's nest Sansevierias or Sansevierias, another trick I would say about growing them is you definitely want to wait till all of the soil is dried out completely. Let it dry out for an entire week. Underwatering a Sansevieria is a lot easier than overwatering them because they will end up getting root rot. But another thing about Sansevieria or snake plants is if you want to grow one, even though it is marketed as an easy to care for plant, try not to get the leaves wet too long, because if they get wet too long, they will rot. And I am picking up some of these new Costa Farms trending tropical plants. That one is a Philodendron Pink Princess. It doesn't have nearly as high variegation. And as far as Philodendron Pink Princess, you really want to find one that has some really good genetics, some really good pink variegation, because the variegation is influenced by its initial genetics versus, say, trying to push out more variegation because of light. Light sometimes will influence the plant's coloration or variegation, but with the Pink Princess, not so much. Now, these are really good urban jungle plants. Again, these are for $13.98. I like that they have taller planters. I love the height of that. It kind of gives it a more stylistic approach. The only thing is, I wish it was just a solid terracotta, like that really nice orange looking planter on these pothos plants. So we have a jade pothos on the left and then a marble queen pothos on the right. You already know, to push out more of that cream variegation on a marble queen pothos, just flood it with a lot of bright light, grow it under a grow light, and you will see that the new leaves will push out lighter variegated leaves. Dracaena Masangiana, love that as well. $12.98 by Costa Farms. It's another easy to care for plant. I don't know how many people actually grow Dracaenas. I just recently bought one at Home Depot because I felt like it would be just an easy to care for plant, and I haven't had any issues with it. It is just one of those plants that most people will equate as a doctor's office type plant. Now, it's really cool that Costa Farms has actually gotten some trendy tropical plants, some new releases. So we've got some philodendron ring of fires. You can see that they are for $20 or $19.98 in self-watering planters. Now, as far as Costa Farms ring of fires, I would say their ring of fires, as compared to some of the other nurseries that have provided big box stores with philodendron ring of fire, at least Costa Farms ring of fires really has some really stable variegation. They've got some large plants as well. You know, sometimes you'll find philodendron ring of fires to be a little bit more on the juvenile side, but you can see that these ones are already serrated. These ones have marbling on their variegation. And as far as the serrated philodendrons, my wish list plant that I hope will eventually become available, maybe Costa Farms might be able to produce them, is the philodendron caramel marble. I mean, it's still super expensive. I've noticed though that there is a resurgence of plants, just the interest of plants post-pandemic. And the thing about it is, I'm noticing that plant pricing has gone up a little bit, more so than say a year or two ago. You know, some of the plant pricing was really plummeting, and I don't know if it's because some people have lost interest, or there is a newfound interest and more people are demanding plants. So I am curious to see what you guys think. So again, leave me some comments on what your thoughts are about some of the plant increases or the plant pricing. I'd love to know your thoughts. I mean, I always like to hear from you guys via comment section anyway. And I do want to know what you think about this Aglaonema. So this is a particular Lowe that has a lot of Aglaonema. Right here, this is the Anyamanie, I think it is, but it could also look like an Etta Rose. Love pink plants, love Aglaonema. And there's so many varieties of pink Aglaonemas available. Now, if you haven't ever seen some of the Indonesian Aglaonema hybrids or the ones from Thailand, if you have Instagram, follow some of those Indonesian Aglaonema growers and you will see why Aglaonemas should be in your plant collection. I mean, they have beautiful colors. They're very much many different varieties, but even though there is a lot of varieties of Aglaonema and they have these beautiful pink colors or just colorful foliage, these plants are still able to tolerate lower light conditions and drought conditions. Those are two characteristics I will continue to talk about in every single video I make about plants, because it's really important, especially for those that are new to the channel, new to growing plants, that those are the types of plants you want to look for, because it's a little bit easier to maintain, for one, and then two, they're forgiving, because not everybody has the time to spend, 6 hours a day to like water your plants, manicure their plants. I know my grandmother, for instance, she has all the time in the world to really manicure her plants and take care of her plants. For me, I work a minimum of 10 hours because I am actually a salaried manager. And the thing about that is, whenever you have all that time you have to spend, you also have to think about all of the other things you have to do in your household besides, taking care of your plants. And that's really the plight of some of the reason why some of my plants have really declined in health. And that's the reason why I lean into Aglaonemas, because it still satisfies my plant aesthetics. I really love plants with very beautiful colors, very stark colors, but also love the fact that it's forgiving, because I don't have to water Aglaonema so often, and they can tolerate lower light conditions, because I can pretty much say everybody's indoor spaces may not be conducive to high or bright light unless you just have tall ceilings with really large windows that are east facing or south facing or west facing. So maybe, if you are lucky to have that, then, I am going to be a little bit more envious if in your situation. But for the most part, if we are going to try to grow plants indoors, a lot of us will utilize like grow lights as a supplementary lighting condition for some of the plants that need just a little bit more light. As far as the grow lights I use the Barina grow lights as well as Sansi grow lights. I am curious to try getting some Soltech grow lights. I think that would be awesome, especially the pendant one, because then I can actually hang it from a darker corner in my room, and then let there be light, let there be life for the plants to be able to grow in a dark space that's lit up. Now, if you notice with a lot of the plants plants here, like especially these Costa Farms hanging baskets, they're all similar in pricing. So these are going to be $20.98. This is a strawberry begonia. If you ever see the variegated version of the strawberry begonia, it is absolutely stunning because you have more of the pink variegation on it. But even just the regular strawberry begonia, it's a fast grower, and you can pretty much propagate from it fairly quickly because it will shoot out little babies. It's very similar to a spider plant. And as you can see right here, this Lowe's may not necessarily have a bunch of new restocks, maybe the philodendron ring of fires, but I will say that they have really good merchandising and many plants to pick from, like $15.98. You've got an Epipremnum aureum golden pothos, for instance. Now this is another plant that I would definitely recommend to anybody who is starting in a plant collection. Please buy yourself a golden pothos, or this right here, this Aglaonema red Siam. Costa Farms plant that is for $15.98 in a self-watering planter. And those two plants, the golden pothos and red Siam, or even this Aglaonema right here, this one is for $19.98 by Costa Farms Trending Tropicals, are plants I would highly recommend adding into your plant collection, especially if you're beginning plants, because to me, it is super important to find something that is going to show a little bit more success. I would rather see a plant foldy, find a plant like a pothos plant. And while some people might find it so basic and so common, it is also a plant that's going to be easy to take care of and also bring you a lot of joy, because then you're not having to struggle to buy like humidifiers, grow lights, special fertilizers, specific water. Those types of things go so, more so into other plants that are a little bit more high maintenance, like alocasias, for instance, and calatheas. So for me, like I said again, it is all about the basic plants. It is all about finding plants that are cost effective. So you can see here, this is a Balfouriana Aralia. Love this plant. This is a variegated Aralia. Now, I've seen this plant in its maturity form where it can get up to like 3 to 4 feet in height. It becomes a very shrubby bush with really thick, woody trunk, but I don't think it can actually grow that size in our indoor spaces. It would need to be in like a tropical country, for instance, like the Philippines. That's where my family's from originally. And even being able to see this Ficus belus out in the wild, or at least out in a tropical country like the Philippines, you will see the maximum potential of these plants. A lot of these plants that we see, like this one right here, is a flame violet or an Especia plant. Beautiful plant, and it does have many different colors for that plant. And then obviously this Hydra Helix. This one is for $5.98, and you already know this Hedera Helix, which is the correct way to say it, or English ivy. It is a plant that some people can actually grow. My friend Isaac, if you haven't seen that interview I did with him where I showed his plants, well, most of his plants are actually rehab or rescue plants from me because I was such a negligent plant parent, but he is able to grow a Hydra Helix, and it's done well. Croton. This is a Croton Gold Dust Croton. It's a common Croton that you will find at a big box store. Costa Farms tends to release it year round, but if you're ever looking for larger versions of Crotons, in the month of October in the United States, you will find Crotons everywhere because everybody thinks it makes a good fall plant because of the fall colors. But when you think about a Croton plant, it is a plant that's native or endemic to Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines, where they can grow into full-blown trees in full sun. So when you think about humid environments, hotter environments, it's not really conducive to fall plants, if that makes any sense. Either way, it is all about whether you want to grow a plant for just the season. We'll be seeing a lot of poinsettias, amaryllis plants, Norfolk pine. Those types of plants tend to make it out in November and December. And to me, I almost feel like it's almost wasteful to put so much effort into growing seasonal plants like Norfolk pine, amaryllis, poinsettias, because they only last for a good 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks at the most, because I hardly see people growing them past the Christmas holiday season. And you got to think all of the plastic that we use for the planters, and just the amount of energy and infrastructure to actually grow plants. Because you got to think right here, for instance, this Costa Farm plant, this Syngonium Maria for $5.98, it was grown in a greenhouse. So it took somebody to take cuttings, propagate it, use the soil, put it in plastic, water it on a consistent basis, spend electricity in a big greenhouse to take care of these plants, only to be shipped out. And not all of these plants are guaranteed a home. And that's a reason why I hope people get into plants. Maybe more of these plants will actually get sold, because some of these plants end up making it to plant heaven simply because their health declines, or people don't end up buying it. And I sometimes feel like there is an overproduction of certain plants. Maybe it's because there is such a high demand. I don't know all of the economics or logistics behind plants, but what I do know is, if you go to a big box store like Lowe's, you will definitely find Costa Farms exotic angel plants like this Syngonium Maria, for instance, $5.98 in a 4.5-inch planter. Love it because it does have that dark chocolate foliage. Syngoniums come in many different varieties, but for the Syngonium Maria to really push out that brown chocolate color, you really want to provide it with quite a bit of bright indirect light. Otherwise, it kind of fades and dulls up. But you can see there are several trays of exotic angel plants, and I do love this plant here. Now, I can't pronounce the actual name, so I'm just going to say this is the green shield plant. This isn't a self-watering planter. A lot of people say that this plant is actually challenging to grow. Surprisingly for me, it actually is an easy plant to grow. It's done very well for me. And what I like about this plant is when it needs water, it will start to droop, but it is also forgiving. So it'll let you know that it needs water, but it will also droop. And then after like an hour, the plant looks just like this again, nice and healthy, upright and full. Really like that plant. And that one is only for $19.98. It's another trending tropical plant. And you already know Janet Craig compacta Dracaena. It's a basic plant, but it is one of the easiest plants, and when it actually grows, it'll grow really tall and have more of like a caney type stem. It's a really interesting plant. So a lot of these starter plants is what I would consider these Costa Farms exotic angel plants, are plants that if you grow them long term and you're able to grow them to maturity, they become such beautiful statement plants. Now this one right here, I really just wish I could grow a snow white waffle plant. This is such a beautiful plant because it has the colors I like. I mean, it has like a metallic shine. It's got lavender, it's got pink, it's got cream, it's got like a minty green. But this plant is not really conducive to my plant care because number one, the soil needs to stay moist. And I'm the type of person that just really doesn't water my plants. And it's a lot to do with me just not having the time to get to each and every one of them. And some people will say, well, why do you have so many plants? I can't really answer that question. All I know is I have a plant addiction and I just want to keep buying plants. I did talk to some of my friends, like I've talked to my friend Janae Simone and Steven of I Live Plants. If you guys don't already know, we have a plant podcast called The Cultivation Corner. Season 1 is premiering on December 9th at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on my channel. It'll be the first episode, but we talked about plant burnout and how, a lot of it has to do with just the overpopulation of plants in somebody's collection. All three of us have really started to look at making it more of a curated type collection. So for me, even though I am tempted to buy that neon pothos, for instance, that one is for $20.98. It's one of those situations where how many more pothos plants can I get? Now, if you ask me, I can have multiples because that is an easy care plant. But when you think about my plant collection, before I wanted to pretty much collect any type of plant, whether it's philodendron, Hoyas, pothos, Dracaenas, Aglaonemas, you name it, whatever plant it is. And if it's interesting enough to me, I want to add it. But now I'm more of a Aglaonema collector. So a lot of my plants, when you see my plant collection home tour, who knows when that's going to happen, you're going to see a lot of that. And I feel like if you kind of curate your plant collection to be more of a niche plant, or at least plants that are just going to be fitting in your aesthetics. It's going to make it easier for you to not necessarily hoard plants. I know I'm a plant hoarder. And then there's also this other term where not only are a plant hoarder, but you're also addicted to like plant propagating. I remember when I really started collecting houseplants indoors about 4 years ago, I literally would take over 50 to 100 cuttings of all these different types of plants that I have, specifically pothos plants. And then I just had a full jungle of pothos. I mean, that is how fast you can actually reproduce a lot of these easy care plants. But then it got to the point where it was just too much. And sometimes you don't necessarily, like whenever you cut your plants, you don't necessarily have to feel the need to propagate the plant. You can either share that plant cutting to somebody else, or you can still compost it. You know, a lot of people have controversial opinions about whether it's okay to compost the plant. I say if a plant is beyond, you know, repair in terms of trying to rehab it because it got a pest infestation, or a plant is just not doing well in your plant collection, sometimes it's just easier to part ways and compost it versus trying to like buy fertilizers or things like that and really put a lot of effort into it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but if you've ever been in that situation where like you actually have had a plant where it was really struggling and you found yourself actually putting more effort into rehabbing it versus parting with it and maybe buying a brand new one, let me know in the comments. Let me know which way or how you navigated through that experience, because I just like knowing everybody's plant stories. You know, it's so interesting to read some of the posts you guys have given me in the comment section. And again, if you made it this far into the video, this big box store plant shopping video, please make sure you do hit the like button for this video. I would really appreciate it. Definitely helps push this content out to more plant lovers like yourself. I love to see our community grow, and that is a fast way to help me grow this channel. But as you can see right here, there's not a lot of people shopping right now. That's why I prefer to go plant shopping at night. Now, I feel like the better lighting is whenever I shop or do plant videos in the morning. That is the best time for me, and that's the best time I get the best lighting for my plants. But this one right here, like, I am really tempted to buy this neon pothos plant because it's so pretty. And then I did want to walk around here and show you some of the Black Friday specials. You can see 2 for $24. You can get 2 of those bundles of holiday plants, and then you can see these are only for $1.98. That is super inexpensive for a poinsettia. Love that as well. And I actually acquired a variegated poinsettia. Now, as far as my intentions with the poinsettia, I do want to grow it as an indoor plant long term. Now, for those that don't know, the red part is not necessarily the bloom of the plant. The bloom of the plant is just the yellow flowers, the really tiny flowers. To get that type of coloration, there is a process to do it, which I can't really explain because I don't want to give you false information when it comes to how to grow poinsettias, because I am still learning. I just know that they do prefer their soil to be a little bit more moist, and they prefer a lot of high light, which means these plants, even this poinsettia right over here, is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for me, but we'll see if I can invest that time to grow it. I do love the colors of the leaves. I mean, those red leaves are amazing. And this is what I was talking about. I ended up getting one of these variegated poinsettias. I mean, look at that. That just looks stunning. And it reminds me of like a Monstera Thai constellation. Now, I'm hoping that, you know, after the season, these poinsettias, some people will actually grow them long term. Speaking of another plant that I feel like is underrated, or well, I actually know is underrated, this is a Dracaena Limelight, and this is a Costa Farms plant again, $7.98. Now, what I love about this neon colored plant is it actually holds on to the neon color even if you provide it with less light. Now, obviously more bright light, it's going to really lighten that up, but that's a plant that can hold on to its neon colors. Staghorn fern, $6.98. This would actually be a good candidate to actually put on a wooden plank or to make it into a kokedama type growing in display. Staghorn ferns, I don't have one at all. I honestly don't know the plant care tips for staghorn fern. So for those who actually grow staghorn fern, and I know they're also known as platyceriums, please leave in the comment section any tips about staghorn ferns. What I do know about them is you can mount them on planks, you can grow them in a substrate like sphagnum moss, and they will do fine. But it is nice to see that Lowe's does have staghorn fern. And as I pan away here, you can see they've got some teddy bear vines by Costa Farms. Those are for $20.98. And then we still have several of these exotic angels by Costa Farms. So you'll see that we have a Belgian waffle plant. So the Belgian waffle plant has more of a tan caramel look about it versus the snow white waffle plant. I love all of the waffle plants, but unfortunately, I've grown the purple waffle plant, the Belgian waffle plant, and the snow white waffle plant. None of them have actually survived long enough for me to say I've been able to grow them long term. Now, Marble Queen pothos, I could have multiples of this. This one is for $7.98. I love that Costa Farms is actually releasing more different varieties of pothos. I happened to get a Yesenia pothos, and I was able to get a Champs Ulysses pothos and a Neon Enjoy pothos. Now, the Champs Ulysses pothos and Neon Enjoy pothos were actually Japanese pothos by the Teruno World Series. I also love Japanese pothos, and if you haven't seen the different varieties of Japanese pothos, highly recommend looking at D&M Garden, Secret Garden on Instagram. My friend May, who I met actually at the Texas Aeroid Show, as well as PlantCon 2024, she has so many different varieties of Japanese pothos. Super cool. I would love for y'all to do that, to actually check it out. Now, as far as the exotic angel plants that we have here, we have the typical Phytonias or the nerve plant, as well as more pothos plants. The one pothos plant I hope Costa Farms will release is the Manjula pothos plants. I did see a bunch of them before, and I regret not buying them because they're actually hard to come by. They're a very slow growing pothos, although I did splurge on buying a hanging basket of Manjula pothos from Costa Farms. They actually had those available, and that was the first time I ever bought Costa Farms plants online. I ended up buying lemon top pothos plant, trending tropicals, from Costa Farms, even though it was a little bit more pricey than say if I bought it at a big box store. I will say my review for Costa Farms shipping and just buying online, they were very efficient, and the plants came to me very much healthy, and I just love the fact that it was such an easy process to buy from CostaFarms.com. So if there are any big box stores like Lowe's, fortunately for me, I'm able to go to any big box store within a 5 to 10 minute radius of where I'm based at. I'm able to acquire these plants for a little bit less, but if you're willing to pay just a little bit more, you can go to CostaFarms.com. Costa Farms plants, that website, they have a lot of the plants that I feature, but they also can ship directly to your doorstep. It literally took like 4 days for my order to get to me, and I love how extremely efficient and fast Costa Farms was with them. Now, this right here is a Philodendron heteroraceum, the green form, $7.98. It's interesting how they just call it green. Sometimes I wonder about some of the plant IDs that Costa Farms gives these plants. I really like more specific plant IDs. Like for instance, this one right here is the black rabbit's foot fern. I might actually buy a black rabbit's foot fern, but then I also thought about it. It's more of just the need to add a fern into my collection, even though I don't feel like it's going to really add anything to my plant collection, if that makes sense. It's not a plant that I gravitate to. You know, there are certain people, like for instance, my friend Steven, who's also on the Cultivation Corner Plant podcast, he's not really a big fan of, say, begonias, or at least that's what he told us, because he feels like that plant is more so like a plant that needs to grow outside. For me, I love begonias because they can grow indoors or outdoors, but it's all about that plant aesthetic. It's kind of like when I was on that big pitch about having everybody grow coleus plants. Like coleus plants are super versatile, but most people consider coleus plants as plants that just grow in a container outdoors. But what people don't realize is that there is a huge European following of just growing the palette leaf or the coleus plant into like full-blown trees indoors. It's a really interesting concept, and I think just like how I talk about plants every single day and give you all of this plant, all of my plant insights. Some people might even, tell me on the DMs, the direct messages, that it's word vomit. Whatever you get from my commentary, I still appreciate that the viewership is there. But for me, I think a lot of these plants end up becoming trendy or popular when more people are talking about them. When more of these plants, can you imagine if people started posting a bunch of these neon pothos on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube, and just talked about how this is such a cool plant? I bet you more people will end up buying these plants, because right now what I'm seeing is a lot of people are posting a lot about anthuriums, for instance. I mean, the whole situation with the Dock Block Anthurium Michelle by Proven Winners. I mean, we had people who have never grown anthuriums in their life just going out to like Home Depot searching for a plant that may not necessarily fit their lifestyle, because anthuriums are plants that need a little bit more care. They require higher humidity levels. They need lighting conditions. Their substrate has to be very specific. Even the water that you water anthuriums are a little bit more picky. But, to go back to it, it's all about how do you get a plant to trend. It's all about who is actually buying the plants, who's actually growing them, and that's how plants become popular. So for me, like whenever I do these big box or plant shopping videos, I will just keep showing you the same plants that I am interested in. Even this right here, this is a Bonnie spider plant. So spider plants is another plant that is super underrated, super overlooked. Nobody really buys them, but I think that this is such a cool plant. And if you've never been to a local nursery called Plants and Planters in Richardson, Texas, they have massive hanging baskets where they have so many little baby pups just trailing down. And a spider plant, that's another plant that not a lot of people are into just because it's a common plant. Some of the plants I've seen that's really trending are all of the variegated monsteras, specifically the mutations of the Monstera Thai constellation, for instance. But as far as the plants that are common, like these, Aglaonema Silver Bay. This is a gorgeous one, and it's actually a really large plant. Let me see the price. Take a look at that. That is $27.98. That is not a bad price at all, considering, Aglaonemas are slower growing plants, but look at how full that is and how beautiful the silver foliage is. This is by Costa Farms again. But there's not a lot of talk about Aglaonemas. Now, there are some super expensive Aglaonemas, like one Aglaonema, and I need everybody to Google search it online if you can. Look for Aglaonema Crown of Siam or Aglaonema Greg Humbali hybrids, and you will see that these are stunning Aglaonemas. Super rare in a sense that you just can't really acquire them in the United States unless you directly import them from Indonesia or overseas. But I bet you if there's more people talking about these Aglaonemas, for instance, especially those more uncommon rare varieties, it becomes a trending plant. And so for me, I want to ask our plant foldies that are watching this plant shopping video today, what plants do you feel are overrated? What plants do you think have become overrated because of social media? Please leave in the comments below if you can. Also, just let me know why that is, why it is that a plant is actually popular. Because for me, like this snake plant right here, the Sansevieria trifasciata, $15.98. That's a plant that everybody should be talking about, but most people will just look away from it because it's a basic plant. On my plant channel, I say basic is the best. Basic is real. Basic is where everybody needs to pivot and go. And, maybe we can still have these, rare Aglaonemas or rare plants, if that makes any sense. I do have quite a bit of Aglaonemas, for instance, but I also have variegated monsteras. But what's crazy is I actually prefer my Monstera deliciosa over my Monstera albo, even though my Monstera albo from Fitzgerald's Tropicals has beautiful variegation. But there is something about the simplicity of looking at a green leaf, if that makes any sense. Like I even look at like a Ficus lyrata, and I remember the Ficus lyrata was super in it plant. Everybody needed it in their homes. It was like an interior designer's go-to houseplant, even though not every single home had like bright, light that you need to provide for it. But even looking at how robust and how green the leaves are, and how that natural shine about, certain plants, that to me makes it exciting. That to me makes me want to grow the plant. Now, as far as all the other plants right over here, you can see we've got a ZZ plant. This one is for $15.98, and you can already see that there are so many Costa Farms plants. I do love the fact that this Lowe's, despite that it hasn't gotten any new plant Costa Farms releases, they did restock with a bunch of Calathea dotties. This one is a Training Tropicals plant by Costa Farms for $19.98. And if you haven't seen that video where I ended up buying a Calathea dottie for $18.88 at Home Depot, it was a lot larger. And the update is, on Thanksgiving, I actually cut it back a lot because a lot of the leaves started to brown. And I realized that I just need to water my Calathea dottie more consistently. So if that means every other day or daily, just because I let it dry out completely for like a week and it's still crisping. And, I don't really have the best humidity in my living room. I have a humidifier in my actual plant room, but I just love the look of a Calathea dottie. I mean, look at how stunning it is. Unfortunately, as beautiful as the leaves are, especially with pretty much every single Calathea, the sad part is the more beautiful the leaves are, for some reason they are just a little bit more finicky of a plant. Either that, or I'm just doing something where I'm sending these Calatheas to plant heaven faster than I can actually keep money in my pocket, because I'm buying so many plants at once. Now here is a beautiful philodendron pink princess. This one has a little bit more pink, but you can see that it's got a little bit more lower variegation. I don't really mind it. Sometimes having plants with just subtle variegation is still a beautiful aesthetic as well. But if you're going to look for a philodendron pink princess and you want a lot more pink, like this one for instance, you want to find a plant that has a lot of that variegation up front, because it will actually signify that it will actually push more of that type of variegation long term. Now, this one is another Trending Tropicals plant by Costa Farms. This one is for $19.98. And when you think about Costa Farms plant pricing, I think it's fair. I think it's still pretty cost effective, because some plant sellers actually sell these plants for a lot higher of a price. Now, some people have these opinions about Costa Farms, really taking away business from maybe some of the smaller plant shops. For me, I don't think that's necessarily the case, because I'm all about also supporting small businesses, local nurseries. You can see that I will feature local nurseries. But the thing about it is, and I've said this in all my other videos whenever I talk about this topic, is not everybody has local plant shops. I am just really thankful that I live out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and there's so many plant places to pick from. So as far as big box stores, if that is, the only thing that's accessible to you, then I say go ahead and buy an Aglaonema red Siam, for instance, at a big box store. It's okay. I don't think people should feel bad or feel like, big box stores take away from small businesses. There is a time, there is a place, there is an audience, there is a consumer for both. And, for me, I always would say support the local businesses first, support small businesses, because whenever you buy from a small business, you are supporting somebody's livelihood, you're supporting somebody's dreams. But at the same time, if you don't have that option to shop local, go ahead and buy yourself in Aglaonema red Siam. As you can notice, I just keep mentioning that. This one has some really nice red foliage. Kathy, if you're watching this video, this is the Aglaonema for you. I wish I could ship this out, but it is okay to buy big box store plants. Now, the thing I will say about big box store plants is, just like any plant, you have to make sure when you buy a plant like this that you take it home. I wouldn't necessarily add it to your plant collection. I would quarantine it. I would spray the leaves down with either insecticidal soap or neem oil spray. I would spray the tops of the leaves, the bottoms of the leaves, the surface of the soil, the bottom of the drainage hole, the sides of the grower planter. That way you can eliminate as much potential possibility of having plant pests hitchhike. I would do that for a little bit. I would quarantine the plant for about a week or two, and then just really stay in, monitor that. Now, as far as all of these Aglaonemas that I'm picking up, again, if you notice that every single Aglaonema red Siam has a different level of redness to it, I do believe that if you give Aglaonema red Siam more bright light, it's going to push up more of the red. I know that the Aglaonema pink Siam, beautiful plant, and I was able to really sun stress it by giving it lots of bright indirect light, not full sunlight, not full direct sun, because it will burn the plant, but it really did push out a lot of the beautiful pink colors. Now this again is another Calathea, $15.98. And the thing about Costa Farms is when they release a plant, you can tell that it is a new crop. So you'll see that there are a lot of Calatheas being pushed out into the big box stores, at least in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've seen the Calathea orbifolia, the Calathea dotty, the Calathea rospicta, and then this Calathea here, which I don't really know the plant ID. What I do know is it's got beautiful purple undersides and really good leaf interest. So that's another plant I would recommend for anybody that wants a beautiful leaf, but also know there is a lot of care that you have to place for Calatheas. I've grown Calatheas hydroponically thinking it would grow well for me in just straight water, and it ended up still getting spider mites. The only substrate I haven't tried to grow Calatheas, I might try it, is Lechuzapon. Lechuzapon to me is the savior of a lot of plants that I haven't been able to grow successfully, like Alocasia. It just makes the plant care so easy, because then you don't have to worry so much about root rot, and you just fill the water reservoir in a self-watering planter, and that is it, which makes my plant care so much easier. Now you can see right here, Majesty Palms. I'm really curious if anybody actually grows Majesty Palms in their plant collection, or is it more of like an interior statement piece plant for somebody's home? I just feel like that Majesty Palm takes so much surface space in a collection that it's not necessarily worth it, at least for me. $12.98. This is a little hanging basket for Lowe's. It's marketed as a Lowe's plant, but I do think that Costa Farms actually provides that syndapsis. And then you can see right here we've got a Fittonia for $7.98. This is the red Ann Fittonia. Now, as far as Fittonias, they make better terrarium type plants, and that's something I want to touch base on maybe next year, is try to grow plants in more of like an artistic form. Like I have a couple of bonsai, I've got a couple of kokedama plants that I want to actually show on my Instagram. I say if you haven't already, definitely follow me on Instagram at GrowFolds. That's really where you can get the daily posts that I have aside from the YouTube channel. I will post on my community posts, and that also brings me to the point. If you get a chance, please check if you're already subscribed to the channel to see if you have all of the notifications turned on. Sometimes when you subscribe to a YouTube channel, it will just give you personal notifications. So that really depends on what kind of content you're currently watching. But if you have all notifications on, it will let you know immediately if I, post a shorts video, a new plant live premiere, or a community post. That's just really a way to get in touch with me and stay up to date with the plant shopping channel of mine. Now over here is another type of Hoya. I don't know the Hoya's actual plant ID, but it is only for $16.98. I do like the 6-inch hanging baskets that Costa Farms has versus the 8-inch ones. I mentioned that in my other previous videos, and the reason being is it doesn't take so much more surface level for it. I think it's easier to maintain, it's easier to grow. You don't have to worry about having to drill such a big hole in your ceiling because it's got a lighter weight. But as far as Hoyas, again, I wasn't really into Hoyas until I started adding a couple to my collection. And now for me, Hoyas have actually become one of the easiest care plants. And the thing about Hoya is it is pet friendly. So if you have a dog, a cat, these plants are not toxic, and you can actually have your plants around, because a lot of these plants that we look at are not really conducive to furry friends. Now, hopefully, if you have a pet, maybe some pets are not going to get into the plants, but there are some plants that are highly toxic. One of them would be Dieffenbachia. So if you ever cut Dieffenbachia to propagate and you get some of the sap on your hand, you want to try to wash that off of your hand as quickly as possible, because it can really irritate your skin. Calatheas, I believe, are also pet friendly. Please leave in the comments below if it's incorrect, but I've heard that Calatheas as well are pet friendly. I'm really tempted to purchase this Epiprimnum aureum neon pothos. This is an 8-inch hanging basket, because it's just one of those plants that you can have multiples of, or at least for me, pothos plants, I can have multiples of. I have yet to actually get a green, regular green Pachira aquatica. I do like the Pachira aquatica, although I prefer them to not be the braided form like this. I like the stump form, but I did end up getting a variegated Pachira aquatica. Thank you to my friend Vic of Vic and Vine. She actually has a Instagram page. She actually is a seller of Lechuza Pond. She was the one who was able to sell me 2 bags, because Lechuza Pond right now, as of this current video, at least when I premiered it, Lechuza Pond was out of stock at Amazon. And again, it is one of those great semi-hydro substrates that do really well for me. If I am going to put more plants in semi-hydro, I definitely prefer Lechuza Pond. It is a little bit more pricey, so I found a cheaper alternative in growing some of my other plants, like Aglaonemas, for instance, in just Leca, which I actually buy from IKEA. It's not a bad price at all. And you can see right over here, we do have an Alocasia Jacqueline, $19.98. As much as I love this Alocasia, as much as this Alocasia, when it grows in its mature form, has stunning large leaves, to get it to that size, it's just really challenging. I really want to know if there's anybody here that's watching this video that has grown an Alocasia Jacqueline, if you've been able to grow it successfully. If so, please leave that in the comment section. I am super curious if you've been able to grow Alocasia Jacqueline or Alocasias long-term in soil substrate. Now, Lechuza Pond, I've seen people grow them. I'm actually currently growing some of my Alocasia in Lechuza Pond, and they have done phenomenal. Calathea orbifolia, it is another beautiful Calathea, but the thing about it is, if you don't provide it high humidity, distilled water, consistent watering, those leaves start to crisp up very quickly. I mean, Calatheas are the biggest heartbreakers. Calatheas have become a plant to me that is one of the more challenging plant, alongside Hydra helix, like English ivy indoors. But you know, I mean, look at how stunning the leaves are, and it is just so disappointing that you can't just grow this plant as an easy care plant. I suppose things that are worthwhile sometimes require a little bit more effort, but then I also think sometimes the things that are more worthwhile are the things that are effortless. And I'll leave in the comments if you prefer a Calathea over, say, a pothos plant. I will always tell you pothos plant. And if you are a Calathea collector, it's not me trying to be negative about the Calatheas. It's really me speaking about my experiences. And as you can tell, I have really utilized a lot of my plant shopping videos just to talk to you about plants, give you my plant insights. Consider it like a mini Richie plant podcast without the mic. And, you know, again, as far as like my podcast that I'm part of, Cultivation Corner, please subscribe to our official YouTube channel, Cultivation Corner. You can do a search on YouTube to find it. We don't have as many subscribers. We're hoping to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I call every single plant foldie, the 11,000 viewers that are subscribed. Please go ahead and subscribe to the Cultivation Corner Plant Podcast. That is one huge project, and we are going to have several seasons. We did film and edit all of season 1, and we're really excited to showcase all of the hard work we've worked on. You know, as far as Janae Simone, please subscribe to her YouTube channel, as well as Stephen of I Live Plants. Those two are really amazing people. I am thankful to have them and call them my friends. We really relate on so many levels. And when you think about a plant podcast, what made it easy for us to produce that work, that content, is because we actually had organic conversations. You know, we didn't really have to have a script or follow some type of production. We literally sat there and talked about a plant topic, and all of a sudden we were just really bouncing off of each other. And that's the thing about my plant content. Again, you know, I have been given feedback about, you know, kind of sticking to the topic, or maybe talking a little bit more so about the plant care tips. I will tell you, if you want plant care tips, I will, you know, give you that, but I will also let you know that the other 70 other 1-hour plant shopping videos that I've done in the past year will have those plant contents. As of the last week or so, I really just feel like talking to y'all, just talking to you about plants, whatever thoughts I get while I watch the playback of the videos I've filmed. That's really what you're getting. So it's pretty much raw footage, and hopefully you guys appreciate more of a raw or more organic take about the plants that I'm talking about in these plant shopping videos. Now this is for $18.98. This is a bromeliad again. And you know, with bromeliads, like, look at that pink right there. It looks like somebody literally just painted pink in the middle. That is such a harsh line right there, but that is for real. That is a plant with such beautiful colors. Pink plants are so cool. Pink plants are all, I mean, I'm all about pink plants. I will buy pink plants all day long. And, you know, as far as bromeliads, that will be a plant I may eventually add into my plant collections, because there's so many different varieties. And plant foldies, you can see that we have so many different types of Phalaenopsis orchids. I love the fact that Costa Farms releases so many different Phalaenopsis orchids for pretty good pricing. I think it's $14.98. Phalaenopsis orchids, you can give them bright light, but they can tolerate lower light conditions. As far as the substrate, always put them in orchid bark. Do not plant them in straight soil. They will die because the roots will rot completely very fast. This one right here is a plant. This is a Thenanthe plant, and it's really interesting that Costa Farms has larger varieties, $22.98. Honestly, for a 10-inch planter, that is not a bad price at all. And as far as Thenanthe, so it's very similar to Calatheas. It's labeled as a Calathea, but I don't think this is a Calathea. Maybe it is, but I have one, and I actually let it dry out completely, and it's pretty forgiving. Now, if it starts to crisp up a little bit on the edges, I just take a pair of scissors and just, you know, cut off that brown part for just the aesthetics behind it. It doesn't really hurt the plant. It actually improves the appearance, but that is really interesting that they actually have this Nanthy plant here. I didn't know that Costa Farms releases the large forms of it like that. So if you want a large form plant and you're looking for something with some nice green on green foliage, this one is a little bit less finicky. I would still say it's a finicky plant. So let's be real here. It's still, you know, similar to a calathea in the sense that it needs to have consistent watering, higher humidity levels, but it's not going to crisp up on you as quickly as a calathea. And then you can see right here, these are the clearance plants, or the rescue me, help me, rescue me plants. Unfortunately, like this one right here, look at this Hydra helix. This is the yellow manda ivy. So this is the first time I've ever seen a yellow manda ivy. Unfortunately, this one is already taking its toll. And the problem is when a Hedera helix starts to get browning leaves, it starts to really attract spider mites. And spider mites on Hedera helix, that's just not something you want to add into your plant collection, because that'll just cause a spider mite infestation. And that's the reason why it's a little bit risky to take an English ivy and put it into your plant collection. Now, granted, if I could grow English ivy, like legit grow them, I would have so many varieties because there's so many different varieties of English ivy. Now, as far as all of the plants we're looking at today, you can see that, again, you know, Lowe's, it has a good variety of plants. You can see that the plant merchandising is on point. I can't stop looking at these gorgeous Aglaonema red siam. These are some of the more redder ones I've seen at a big box store. Like, I'm tempted to buy them again. I already have 4 Aglaonema red siams. I'm okay with adding a 5th one because, again, it's one of those plants that are easy to care for, and it's a plant that you can push out more of the red, or I feel like you can get more of the red coloration by just simply giving it more light. So plant foldies, I mean, what do you guys think of today's video? Did you guys get some interesting insights from me as far as plant commentary? Please leave that in the comments, and, you know, let me know what your thoughts are on some of these Costa Farms plants. I mean, if you've collected them, and if you've bought an Aglaonema, please let me know in the comments. That would bring me so much joy actually to see if I've influenced anybody else, because look at this right here. You've got to get this Aglaonema anyamanie. Beautiful plant. It's got some beautiful pink foliage, and I will be adding more Aglaonema to my collection soon. Again, please hit the like button for this video. I really had fun just talking to y'all this evening, and if you can, please make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel at Grow Folds. This is Richie. I'll see you with a brand new one tomorrow.